When TV icon Andy Griffith died in 2012, his fans learned that there would be no public burial, funeral, or service to attend, even if they were able to. Prior to his death, Griffith had taken care of everything behind the scenes. He made all the arrangements and orchestrated every last detail of what would happen to his remains shortly after he died. Griffith passed away at his home on Roanoke Island around 7 a.m. Eastern Time on July 3, 2012. Per his family's request, Andy's body was lowered into a grave on that island a little over 4 hours later at 11:30 a.m. Keep watching to learn why Griffith wanted to be buried so quickly after his death. Griffith died of a heart attack. According to his death certificate, the North Carolina native died of a heart attack after suffering from various illnesses for years. In 1993, he was diagnosed with his first serious health problem when he found out he suffered from Guillain-Barré syndrome. The ailment prevented him from walking for 7 months. In 2000, he underwent quadruple heart bypass surgery after being diagnosed with coronary artery disease. 7 years later, he had to have hip surgery. Andy was in total control. Before his death, Andy had already made all the decisions about what he did and didn't want to happen. The last thing he wanted was for a bunch of press coverage and reporters surrounding his home. Nor did he want helicopters flying overhead and swarms of spectators desperately trying to catch a glimpse of his casket. He requested that a small group of some of his most trusted friends immediately bury him after his death. That way he could go out with dignity before the pesky paparazzi could storm Roanoke Island and try to snap a few photos of his remains. The citizens of Dare County all played their part to ensure Griffith's wishes were upheld. The sheriff grounded helicopters over the island and kept camera crews far away from his estate. The short time frame they had to bury him meant that only a small handful of Andy's closest local friends could attend his impromptu service. Sadly, his only surviving child, Dixie Griffith, could not make it out in time. According to Dixie, the last thing Andy wanted was for his funeral to be some kind of media circus. He'd always been a humble man who shied away from limelight. While he certainly had his fair share of fans and had amassed a net worth estimated at around $60 million, he never flaunted what he had, nor did he enjoy being treated like anyone special. Dixie's last conversation with her dad. Andy had 2 kids, a son named Samuel Griffith Jr., who unfortunately died in 1996, and a daughter Dixie, who's now 61. Speaking to author Daniel DeVise in 2015, in his book Andy and Dawn, The Making of a Friendship and a Classic American, Dixie discussed the last phone call she had with her father. She told DeVise that in that call, it felt like Andy was trying to impart to her some kind of wisdom. Because of the context of the conversation, Dixie said she knew deep down inside it would be the last time she would ever talk to her dad. He told her he loved her, and she told him she loved him as well. While he might not have been his blood child, veteran actor and filmmaker Ron Howard, who played Opie on The Andy Griffith Show, stayed in touch with Griffith after the sitcom ended. In 2012, Howard told the LA Times he always viewed Andy as a mentor and friend. He went on to describe how episode by episode, hour by hour, Andy proved that neurotic angst and creativity were not invariably linked. Howard described Andy as someone who led by example. As a cast, the stars of The Andy Griffith Show loved playing practical jokes on each other and enjoying each other's company. Ron described the atmosphere of being on set as extremely healthy and uplifting. Even though they'd sometimes laugh until they cried, they were still able to get through 12 pages of a script every day while producing one of the most watched shows in the country. Before we tell you more about Andy Griffith, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Griffith was buried in unprecedented time. The speed at which the public learned of Andy's death and burial seemed particularly fast for all observers, but according to one of Griffith's spokespeople, he had the arrangements planned for some time. His prompt makeshift service and burial was the wish of him and his family. Shortly after Andy's death hit the news, the executive director of the state's Funeral Directors Association, Larry Stiegel, was quoted as saying he didn't recall hearing about such a quick burial in the 32 years he'd worked with the organization. Funeral customs often allow for a longer period between death and burial, so the deceased's friends and family have an opportunity to visit and pay their respects. That being said, a family's wishes are always upheld. Griffith's wife Cindy described Andy as being a man of incredibly strong Christian faith, who was prepared for the day he'd be called back home to be with his maker. Andy's gravesite remains private. If you plan on visiting Roanoke Island to pay your respects at his gravesite, you're out of luck. That's because just like everything else surrounding his death, his burial site remains private to this day. After his death, the actor's body was quickly moved to an unmarked grave at his island estate. His family does not allow anyone to enter the property to get a glimpse of his final resting place. Every other star from The Andy Griffith Show is buried in a public cemetery, so if you want to lay flowers on the graves of Don Knotts or Francis Bevier, you should have no problem. To ensure his private resting place would remain private, Andy's widow Cindy even opted to have his house demolished less than a year after his passing. Some of Andy's friends and neighbors weren't pleased by this decision. Ira David Smith, a producer and lifelong friend of Griffith, was quoted as saying she had always assumed the property would eventually be preserved and open to the public. Andy had purchased the estate in the 50s and at one time even expressed interest in it being turned into some sort of museum one day, but that idea obviously faded. Even so, there's an Andy Griffith Museum in Mount Airy, North Carolina. There you'll find the most extensive collection of Andy Griffith keepsakes and memorabilia in the world. Andy's surviving family members inherited his wealth. Griffith's roles as Andy Taylor and Ben Matlock on Matlock contributed to him netting a cool $60 million throughout his 6 decades spanning acting career. It's more than likely Griffith left half of his fortune to his wife Cindy and the other half to his daughter Dixie. But one gossip rag reported on a rumor that Griffith had cut his daughter out of his will. It's important to note this claim has never been confirmed, and Dixie has only spoken favorably of her father since his death. Now it's time to hear from you. What are your favorite memories of Andy Griffith? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content. By the way, if you haven't joined Facts First as a member yet, be sure to look below this video and click the join button. By becoming a paid member of Facts First, you'll get access to exclusive video content that you won't find anywhere else. This includes some of our more mature content that isn't suitable for public audiences, which includes topics like Hollywood actresses who posed for Playboy and some of the steamiest moments in movie history. Plus, you can enjoy these videos completely ad-free. Our biggest fans will notice they also get badges next to their name when they leave comments on our videos. We pay special attention to comments from our members, and so do other viewers. So if you want exclusive content from Facts First or inside access to discussions with other community members, click the join button to get started for just $4.99. There are hours of members-only videos waiting for you, with new videos added every month. And we're actively working on bringing even more features to help fans like you connect with other members and get more of your favorite content. Just click join, and we'll see you inside the membership tab.